Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
Happy to have you along, my fellow Americans. The Roundtable's rocking today, baby. Tell you what, it's myself. Got the good Sheriff Richard Mack with us, well-known president and founder of the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. Become a member today, cspoa.org. If you want to see the Supreme Court case where he beat Bill Clinton, check that out at cspoa.org as well. We're talking about the Ghislaine Maxwell case. That's a sham. We're talking about the Savannah Guthrie case. That's very weird indeed as well. We're talking about Janine Pirro. We thought she was a conservative, but now she's ready to take the guns. Donald Trump, Janine Pirro, and Pam Bondi all want to basically take the guns first and due process second. I sure pray they don't get in trouble and we decide due process is second for them. I hope due process is first for all of us. First, we got to have a probable cause. Then we got to have due process to the nth degree. And we need to remember we all have the right to keep and bear arms. By the way, did y'all see the All-American halftime show?
No.
Yeah, the stream by Turning Point USA. Sheriff, did you see that?
No, didn't want to have anything to do with it.
Did you watch the original Super Bowl?
I watched a good portion of the Super Bowl, but I didn't.
Did you watch Bad Bunny?
Halftime. The NFL can take their halftime and kick it through the goalpost.
All right. Well, what about the alternative halftime show by Turning Point?
I did. I watched that.
You did. Mm-hmm. And how did you like the All-American halftime show? The one that had Kid Rock.
Okay. I thought it was okay. It's not my kind of music. I'm not big into that music. I never heard of Bad Bunny before in my life, which I'm proud to say that. Even though I speak Spanish and I like Latin American culture and all that, I love a lot of Latin American music, but it has nothing to do with Bad Bunny and
yeah,
he doesn't even have a Latin American name, Bad Bunny. But I don't know where he got that.
Well, he really does have a Latin American name. That's just his stage name.
Nothing to do with him or the NFL's halftime, and I want less and less to do with the NFL.
All right. Well, they're saying 6.1 million people watched the Turning Point USA halftime show. I thought it was very good. Kid Rock sang Until You Can't, a very humble country song, a song that he did a cover of. And it was basically this idea that, you better hold on to the people you love because one day it'll be when you can't. Yeah, and it really reminds me of the Savannah Guthrie. It reminds me of the Savannah Guthrie discussion. They were holding her and loving her until they can't, right? So life is very difficult, and we need to kind of remember that. Now people are saying that the halftime show, the All-American halftime show, which is the Turning Point one, some are saying, even Daily Caller said it's up to 25 million people that viewed it. Some were live. Some had trouble watching it live. So they watched it after the fact and everything else. That is the first time in history that that's even been done. And what a statement they made, Sheriff.
Yeah, they did make a great statement. I thought it was a great competition for the stupidity of the NFL, what they provided. And look, they've had Latin American singers before. I actually really like Shakira. I love her music.
Oh, sure.
I love her music. J-Lo, she was a little bit too wild.
Come on, you don't like Jenny on the Block? Come on now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care for her as a person. I do like some of her entertainment. I really loved her first movie when she played Selena. And Selena's music, I absolutely love. If they would have done some Selena music, I would have been all over it.
All right. Well, all I can tell you is this. I don't have a problem with anybody that's Hispanic performing by any means.
No.
Okay? But when you do the whole halftime show in Spanish and you have one sentence in English, when 90% of the American people can't understand even what you're saying, I think there's a problem with that, Sheriff.
Yeah, there is. I mean, you're trying to bring us together. Well, what did you do to bring us together when nobody, 90% of them can't even understand what you're saying? That's
if he wants to have an English set and do a Spanish song or some Latino music, and hey, I don't have any problem with that. But when you do 90%, of it plus in a language that the people don't understand. When it's like going to China and saying, hey, we're going to do the thing in French, because I'm French. So it's just insane. And that's what they did. And the problem is that the NFL is starting to lose more and more people. It reminds me of baseball, how they had that big old strike, and baseball's never been the same. If the NFL's not careful, they're going to go the same path, sir.
Yeah, they're going to make themselves irrelevant and trying to say that you're trying to bring our country together, and you use a foreign language the whole time that nobody understands. That's just stupid.
I think they should have done the halftime show in Swahili, personally.
Yeah.
Just saying. I'm just kidding. It's insane.
I kind of aim towards Tahitian. My dad served a mission in Tahiti, and he always talked Tahitian, so they should have had it in Tahitian.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. All right, our guest, Ian Trottier, ladies and gentlemen. He's an American author. He's a podcaster. He's an entrepreneur. He's a political commentator. I'm going to add he's a truth teller as well. He's well known for his incredible book and website, highstakestreason.com. Ian, welcome back, sir.
Sam, nice to be back with you guys. You're talking about this halftime show, and it reminds me of this snowboarder for China. She's born and raised in San Francisco, and she's snowboarding to represent China. Yeah, she's a Stanford student. She makes $20 million off endorsements. And it's like, what's wrong with some of these people? They don't want to represent America anymore, the country that made, their families great. And I would assume that her mother, who's Chinese, is left China for communism. Yet they raise their kids to honor the country of origin, and then the children feel like they're somehow indebted to the country from which the parents came, and then that country, right, gets all the glory. It's just interesting. Her name's Eileen Gu, and unfortunately she lost. Maybe fortunately she lost the gold medal yesterday. But that's what this reminds me of, when you've got this Bad Bunny, Puerto Rican, Spanish, Hispanic theme, and they're clearly, the globalists, in my view, they're clearly taking shots at our American Republic. It was the whole. The whole parade of that halftime show, which I didn't watch, by the way, I flipped over to Kid Rock, but I saw some of the post halftime commentary yesterday, and you've got a clear, you've got all these foreign flags, and they're mocking basically the open borders of the Biden
they're mocking
administration.
Deportation for sure.
Yeah.
And they're certainly creating this wedge and this divide and everything else. And I think most Hispanics, don't even know who Bad Bunny is or like that kind of music either. That's kind of part of the problem is when you pick a genre of music that is very narrow in scope, who listens to Spanish rap? Even if you take the Hispanics, 10%, 12%, 15% who speak Spanish in America, and then you basically say who likes that kind of music. And I mean, the numbers are going to get thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner. It's shocking the way they did that. But I will say this, Charlie Puth did kick off with the national anthem and did a stellar job.
Yeah, that was exceptional. And look, I'm not opposed to a foreign language being sang during a halftime. It doesn't make any difference to me. Laura Pausini or Andrea Bocelli, these are Italians that sing. But
Sure.
That's kind of the point, is that that was in Italy, and you want to honor that country of origin. And I understand the NFL is expanding internationally, but we, this is a great American pastime. And look at the mockery of Bill Belichick. He wasn't even inducted in the Hall of Fame. One of the greatest coaches ever. He doesn't even get in that first ballot Hall of Famer. I mean, it's insanity.
Well, I've decided what they need to do is, since blind people can't even watch the Super Bowl, I think they need to do a halftime in Braille. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
And it's just weird stuff, folks. And the problem, we're not having any problem with Latinos. We're not having any problem with different languages, different cultures. We love that. We're willing to celebrate that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But when you do a whole halftime show and I can't understand a word of it in my country, not cool. You've gone too far. We're playing games here, and it isn't about bringing people together, and that's my real issue with it, to say the least.
Well, it was a political statement. Let's be real. It was a political statement.
And that's my problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the political statement from TP USA is we just want an all-American halftime show. That's why they had country artists, and they had Kid Rock, and they had some rock and some country and some, they had a male and a female artist performing and stuff like that. Gabby Barrett did a great job as well. And, it was all-American halftime. It was letting, it was real about America and what we're feeling. And, this idea you do all these things until you can't is a real important message.
Yeah, right. And let's honor the culture that created that game and made that game great. And honoring a gay guy from Puerto Rico and open borders is not what made America great, and it's not what made the NFL a smash mouth great game.
And the
I don't think
NFL, though,
yeah.
the NFL should have been wiser too when he started just trashing America and mocking the American people all the time leading up to the Super Bowl. They should have said, "Whoa, hold on, this is not what we signed up for. We're canceling this gig." Because who wants to have this big fight, this big argument about Puerto Rico, how the Puerto Ricans are treated, this, deportations and this hostility towards Trump, and who wants all that seeding these games? I mean, these games remind me of the Olympics. They're designed to bring people together. Anyway, very strange.
And
all right, we're going to take a quick pause. Sam Bushman, the good sheriff, and Ian Trottier. You're watching Liberty Roundtable Live.
Have you ever had great honey? No, I mean really good, all-natural, raw honey? Well, now you can, thanks to localhoneyman.com. We can ship out our locally made honey all across the U.S. So don't worry, you won't miss out. Plus, Local Honeyman has so many different flavors, like Utah Wildflower, High Desert Delight, Happy Valley, and Blackberry, just to name a few. So purchase your delicious raw honey today at localhoneyman.com.
As you are aware, America is divided over every fault line possible. This is intentionally fostered by those who do not love God, family, or country. We believe a peaceful future as a free people absolutely depends on civility. Clarion Call for Civility is looking for funding and volunteers at every level to make our hopes and efforts a reality. Please donate, sign our pledge, and help us in our sacred cause. Please visit callforcivility.com for more details. Callforcivility.com.
Cybercrime is exploding. Take Sarah from Sweet Delights, whose world crumbled after having to close with not being able to bounce back. Small businesses are prime targets, but the right strategies can keep yours safe. Jay Hill, CEO of Network Providers, has co-authored The Cyber Playbook Simplifies Cybersecurity for Business Owners with Strategies to avoid costly breaches and fines. Build a strong cyber attack response. Secure your business with key protections. Cyber threats aren't slowing down, but you can stay ahead. Protect your business. Ensure its security for tomorrow. Get the Cyber Playbook today at networkprovidersinc.com/cyber-playbook or call 385-446-5500 now.
Ian Trottier with us, ladies and gentlemen. Sheriff Mack with us. Yours truly, all talking about all kinds of things. The American Halftime Show, the Daily Caller says they had up to 25 million viewers. Most state around 6-7 million. But that's, you got to debate how they categorize these things, whether you're talking about concurrent views or watching after the fact, there's all kinds of twists to it. But no doubt a huge statement was made by TPUSA, and I think their halftime show was a very, very good bring America together kind of a show. All right, Andrew Napolitano, the good judge, asks an interesting question. I want Sheriff Mack to answer, then Ian, and then I will, and then we'll get to Ian's incredible book and the details there. Does the U.S. still have a constitution? Judge Andrew Napolitano wrote an article about this just last week. Does the U.S. still have a constitution? Sheriff?
Pragmatically speaking, no, we don't. Both major parties feel that they can violate the Constitution at will, and that if they have better ideas than the Founding Fathers did, if they have better ideas than the protections within the Bill of Rights, the supreme law of the land, they'll violate it at will, especially the Democrats. I will go to my death saying that I will go to my grave saying that the Democrats are worse than the Republicans. But I really get fed up with the Republicans trying to act like Democrats too often. And the spending, if they were to follow the Constitution, we would not be $38 trillion in debt. All the welfare things that both sides do getting us entangled in stupid, idiotic wars and entangling alliances, and not following the simple thing called the Second Amendment, especially the Democrats. They believe the Second Amendment says exactly the opposite of what it says. No, we do not have a constitution when it comes down to what's actually happening pragmatically.
All right, Ian Trottier, well-known American author, podcaster, commentator, truth teller. Does the U.S. have a constitution still? Asks Judge Andrew Napolitano.
Yeah, this is a good question, and it's one that I asked the economist Paul Craig Roberts a number of years ago, and he blatantly said, this is probably 8 years ago, Sam, he said that the Constitution had gone to the wayside. There simply wasn't one that represented the people. Now, to support that, I'll say this. The FDR Wartime Act, basically, and if we go back to, I think it's the 1868, the 14th Amendment, which shifts citizenship from the state to the federal government, the government does not represent the Constitution. I think there is a Constitution that does exist, but does it represent the people? No, because the corporation that we are represented by represents basically a straw man. So it's not representing. It's representing basically members of that corporation, and that Constitution is not representing the members of that corporation, otherwise known as citizens. So technically, the Constitution, from my understanding, is not an active. It is not an active protocol of policy that represents us. It does exist. We can see it in Philadelphia, but in other places. But it's not an active document. No. On the flip side, I think that because of that Constitution, because we live our lives adherent to the elements of the Constitution, even though it technically doesn't represent us, I think it does surface through many aspects of our lives. Whereas censorship is very real. However, there is still an element of freedom of speech. We're exercising it here, and of course, the Second Amendment to that Constitution is active. Whereas we are able to purchase private firearms. Whereas under Mao Zedong, over various decades in China, that was taken away from the Chinese people. And I think 60 million, some of the stats that I've seen, 60 million people died at the hand of Mao Zedong. As his effort to take away private ownership. So, and I think that is probably what is keeping us relatively independent, if there is an independence, because we're not economically independent, we are geographically independent. It keeps us independent from the globalist machine that has invaded our country and is working to destroy all the rights that we hypothetically enjoy from that Constitution. So that would be my answer, in short.
There you have it. Ian Trottier answers. Sheriff Richard Mack answers. Judge Napolitano's main point is that, the Constitution has virtually been suspended, and that's why he asked the question, does the U.S. still have a Constitution? So now you got the judge, you got a commentator, you got a sheriff, you got, all these people answering the question. I'd like to take a stab at it. Here's my effort. I think of a cage fight, like the martial arts fighting guys. I think of a cage fight, and you get this guy in the corner of the cage, and he's just getting beat. He's just getting pummeled, and he can't get out of the corner that he's in. He's just getting pounded. It's only a matter of time. That's kind of where the Constitution is, folks. It is indeed hanging by a thread, no doubt about it. And the Constitution is getting pummeled in this cage fight big time because Americans aren't defending. Americans aren't standing up. Americans aren't demanding constitutional adherence. And so really the Constitution has been lost in the hearts and the minds of the American people, and it's been ran over by out-of-control, belligerent, psychotic, crazy government that doesn't care. Okay? However, I still submit that a significant portion of the Constitution still exists. We still have three branches of government. Yeah, the checks and balances are being abused, but we at least have three branches of government. We have somewhat of a modicum of checks and balances, where not only the three branches of government all the way down to the local county level, but you've got sovereign states, There's supposed to be 50 constitutional republics. That's why you have a state constitution delegated certain authorities, and the general constitution delegated a very limited scope of authority. And so we have proper rule of government in theory, on paper. What it's not in is in the hearts and minds of the American people to insist that it's obeyed. For example, I'd fire all 535 members of Congress who voted for the big, beautiful spending bill. It's belligerent. It's out of control. It's Biden spending carried through Trump and called big, beautiful for labeling. The fact is, it spent us into oblivion. Did it cut taxes a little bit? Yeah. Was there some good in it? A little bit. But I don't even think we have a clue of what was really all in it. Now they're ready to go ahead and shut down government because they don't like the way we're dealing with deportations. And okay, I would fire all those clowns, every one of them. The American people could fire all 435 members of the House in midterms. They could fire 1/3 of the Senate and show how serious we are. But see, the American people are like, hey, I saw Big Bunny last night. Did you? And therefore, we've got a problem. So the Constitution is certainly there. You can see it. You can go to Philadelphia. It's certainly on paper, and it certainly governs a lot of America still. Otherwise, I'd be drug away for this conversation in the middle of the night. That's what would happen in communist China or somewhere else like that, right? So we still have a lot of freedoms left, folks. And I understand what Judge Napolitano's saying, and I understand what these other gentlemen are saying. But I would maintain that we still have a lot more of the vestiges of the Constitution. We have a lot more checks and balances. We still have due process for the most part. Even though Judge Janine Pirro doesn't believe you have a Second Amendment right, you still do in most of the country. You don't in New York, you don't in California, you don't in D.C., and you don't in Illinois. I mean, there's a lot of, pushback on that. But if we, the people, would stand up, if we would educate ourselves and make sure that the Constitution is written on our hearts, and we said there's only one higher power, and that's God. It ain't government. And we're going to hold you people to account. We're going to demand you obey the law or you get tossed in the clink. That's what the American people need to do. The Constitution is indeed hanging by a thread. But I would still say, yes, the U.S. does have a Constitution. It's certainly getting pummeled in the corner of the cage right now. I'll tell you that. What do you think of that response, Sheriff?
Yeah, I like it. I think it's a good analogy. I would just like to end, though, my comment on this, and this is very short. Every sheriff and every mayor and every governor and every state rep and city council member and county commissioner, every single one of us have a moral and lawful responsibility to uphold and defend the United States Constitution and the Constitution in our states. That is the supreme law of the land, and we have a responsibility to make sure our Constitution doesn't get pummeled anymore and that it be secured better than hanging by a thread. It's our duty, and we can take it back, and we can restore the Constitution county by county.
And I know people are saying, well, there's vote fraud, Sam, and my response is not if you mandate districts and precincts. Right now, see, we're getting skipped. The precincts are being skipped. Take it local. Demand paper ballots. Demand, people come and that you know who they are and the same day voting, and demand that you get rid of the machines. I mean, we can do things on the precinct level. What they've tried to do is Shanghai this. And now Trump wants to make a national government control of elections. If the states can't get it done right, you think the feds will? I mean, tell me what the feds are in charge of that they're doing right.
He'd be just turning that over to the Democrats here in this
couple
year.
Of days. Yeah.
So,
all I can say is I think the general government does pretty good right now with Trump at the border. But that's really about all. And it's only temporary while Trump's there. Then it'll get reversed and go back because Congress hasn't codified anything Trump's done. This is not an attack on President Trump. Congress has betrayed Donald, and that's why I think they all should be fired. What they should have been doing is codifying the right things that he's done, shut him down for the wrong things that he's done, and they should not have personal opinions or friends or people in high places or low places, whatever you want to call it. They should just simply let the Constitution tell the tale, and they should vote and act according to sacred God-ordained principles, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Ian Trottier, Sheriff Richard Mack, and yours truly back in seconds. You're watching Liberty Roundtable Live, syndicated by the Loving Liberty Networks, lovingliberty.net. Hang tight. We got a lot to cover because I'm wondering why people aren't in prison. We'll talk about it.
protecting your liberties. You're listening to Liberty News Radio.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. Amrit Thomason. Savannah Guthrie says she and her siblings are at an hour of desperation. 10 days and a couple of deadlines have passed, and the mother of the Today Show co-host is still missing. The status of 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie is unknown as her family appeals to the public to come forward with any shred of information that might help law enforcement. Family members say they are willing to meet a ransom demand, but we know of no contact with the kidnappers. The Justice Department is allowing members of Congress to review unredacted files relating to the activities of the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
In a letter to lawmakers, the DOJ said members will have access to the more than 3 million files released by the department. To access the files, lawmakers will need to give the administration 24 hours notice, and they will be able to review the files on computers at the Department of Justice. Only lawmakers, not their staff, will have access to the files. President Trump wants to move on from the issue, but many questions remain about Epstein and his connections. Greg Clugston, Washington.
All is far from well, and conditions are worsening in communist Cuba, where authorities warn airlines they may not be able to refuel on the island.
This is part of energy rationing as the Trump administration cuts Cuba off from its fuel sources. The shortage stems from U.S. political pressures severing Cuba's access to oil from Venezuela and Mexico. Shorter flights may not be affected, but long-haul routes face challenges. The energy crisis has led to reduced bank hours, suspended cultural events, and halted public transport. U.S. sanctions have long impacted Cuba, but recent measures have intensified the situation. Keith Peters, Washington.
The Dow rising further into record territory. The blue chip index is up 227 points, and the NASDAQ ahead 18. Townhall.com.
Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. A lot of us are thinking about taxes, home projects we've been putting off, ways to get ahead financially in 2026. Now's the perfect time to talk to my friends at Fellowship Home Loans. If you want to lower your mortgage payment, they can help you refinance. If you need access to cash for home improvements or to wipe out high-interest debt, their fixed-rate line of credit is one of the best tools out there. Fast approval, predictable rate, and flexibility to use your home's equity wisely. Remember, many people still qualify to skip their next 2 mortgage payments. Imagine starting big projects or paying down debt with 2 months of breathing room. My family and I have used Fellowship personally. I trust these guys. Take control of 2026. Go to fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G. fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G. fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G, or call 800-510-MIKE. That's 800-510-6453. Fellowship Home Loans, mortgage lending by the book.
Nationwide Mortgage Bankers, DBA Fellowship Home Loans, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 819382.
If Planned Parenthood were what they publicly declare themselves to be, they would welcome transparency. We all know why they hide, because we know what they hide. We can confirm federal judges who follow the Constitution rather than reverse engineer their preferred policy outcomes. The truth about abortion is spreading because of advances in medical imaging, because of brave journalists, tireless activists, compassionate doctors, nurses, and other healthcare professionals. The rising generation of young Americans is the most pro-life in decades because they know too. And one day soon, we will reaffirm our nation's principles in their dignified fullness and avow once again that all men are created equal. All are entitled to life.
Bypass the mainstream narrative with Liberty News Radio at libertynewsradio.com. Engage with charismatic hosts live or on demand. We cover the crucial news focused on God, family, and country. News that other networks simply refuse to use. Think of LNR's hard-hitting news and podcasts at your fingertips, anytime, anywhere. Join us at libertynewsradio.com. Empower your day with the truth, because the truth will set you free. libertynewsradio.com.
Introducing Managed IT Services from NPI. We offer top-notch data backup and recovery, email spam protection, and network security tailored to your needs and budget. With 20-plus years of experience in the medical field, our HIPAA-certified consultants know what it takes to protect sensitive information. Don't settle for less. Give us a call at 801-706-6980 and experience the difference with Managed IT Services. Remember, your IT support should be fast, efficient, and reliable.
All right, high-stakes treason, ladies and gentlemen. How John Brennan sold us out for cash is the real deal. The question becomes, what on earth is going on with this? How come Donald Trump hasn't put folks in prison for this kind of thing? The book is incredibly well documented. Ian Trottier, well-known author, commentator, and more with us now. Let's talk about treason, because a lot of people say, well, wow, that's a high bar, Ian. But you start with the definition, right?
That's right. We start with the definition, and the definition is Article 3, Section 3, Clause 1 of the U.S. Constitution. Narrowly defines treason as exclusively levying war against the United States or adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. Now, what I argue, gentlemen, is that during the global war on terror, John Brennan, the former director of the CIA, illegally held stocks in a government contractor for deliberate personal financial gain to the detriment of national security. That would be during the time of global war on terror. That would be during the time of war, whilst serving as Homeland Security Advisor to Barack Obama in the years 2009 and 2013. Mr. Brennan intentionally allowed terror attacks. I'll say that again. Mr. Brennan intentionally allowed terror attacks to occur on the United States and NATO by sequestering critical intelligence for profit. That would have been providing aid and comfort to an enemy during the time of war, the global war on terror, which came to a conclusion during the Biden administration. These are very serious allegations. There are 110 pages of an appendix that support the argument in the book that has over 400 pages total. But that is the way that I view things. Of course, I don't have a law degree, but based off of the alleged crimes that Mr. Brennan has conducted, and let's point something out very, very important here. The statute of limitation would continue to be rolling over because he was involved in what's called the Russian collusion hoax. And the Russian collusion hoax was a facade to try to blame the Russians for electing Donald Trump. There's something called Hamilton's 68 dashboard, which your viewers should look into. And that was a system that created a fictitious Russian bots manipulation that supposedly helped Trump gain that election. We know this is all fraudulent. Now, the Russian collusion itself, orchestrated by John Brennan with Stephen Halper, which recruited Christopher Steele to create that dossier.
What, funded by Hillary?
That's correct. Funded by Hillary Clinton. What we see then, Sam, is that this was motive. The contents of high stakes treason serve as motive for John Brennan to continue his cover-up of the white collar crimes, and to basically frame General Flynn and a woman named Svetlana Lakova into being part of a cover-up scheme. This is all false. In fact, as a matter of fact, Sam, I asked about 3 weeks ago, I asked Michael Flynn to introduce me to Svetlana Lakova, because recently she's been tweeting about John Brennan very frequently. And she's been tweeting about some other things in regards to Epstein and also Tulsi Gabbard. And let me mention this name in regards to John. There's a connection between John Brennan and Epstein, and that is a woman named Kathy Ruemmler, Ruemmler. John Brennan, Ruemmler, and Epstein had contact. And the question, one of the things I'm looking at right now is, why did John Brennan give this woman, Kathy Ruemmler, the highest award for the CIA? So there's some type of a triangle going on with Epstein. I can't get into more in regards to how John Brennan may have been associated with Epstein or not, and what he was running. But there is a connection, and that would be through this Kathy Rumler.
Sheriff Mack, I'm wondering about this, though. It seems to me that Donald Trump made us kind of believe that he was going to take care of business. He was going to get to the bottom of these scandals, these dishonest manipulations regarding J6, regarding the Russian hoax, regarding the Epstein files, regarding this, regarding that. I mean, I can keep going. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. But I ain't seen nothing. Nothing's happened. A couple of low-level people had to step down from their prestigious cush government, university jobs or whatever. They'll turn up as a bad penny somewhere else getting some special privilege, don't you know? Ghislaine Maxwell has special privilege. No one has answers. No one's going to jail. Dan Bongino's so sick of it he walked. I mean, this is the biggest disappointment of the administration. And if the Republicans don't take action quick and show real pay dirt, Sheriff, I'm telling you right now, they're going to get spanked in the midterms. Your thoughts?
I think they're going to get spanked anyway. I think politically, the pendulum swings from the left to the right, and then not much anybody can do about it. But I really liked what Ian said about the hoax, about the Russian hoax about Trump. Trump has been a victim of these people lots of times. And everything that has happened to him, I'd be a little bit leery about going after some of them also. He's playing defense. That's all he's doing, because he's right now very concerned about what you just said, Sam. He's looking at getting impeached within a year from now. And that's really got him scared. And I know he doesn't usually come across scared, but he is scared. And he's actually said that publicly. He's going to be victimized by these people again. And I think he knows that it doesn't do any good to go after him, that he doesn't do any good to do any investigations, because these crooked judges, especially in Washington, D.C., are not going to do any follow-up. They're not going to do anything to these people, and he's just going to be digging his impeachment grave deeper. He's playing defense all the way. He's trying to make it happen to where he can survive another 2 years as president, and the likelihood is that that's up for grabs now. And I don't blame Trump for playing defense right now. And look at everything that they did to attack him. They tried to kill him twice, at least once for sure. It looked like the Secret Service was part of it with their incompetence or willfulness. And then being charged criminally. This is what blows my mind. Charged criminally with mortgage fraud, and there wasn't even a victim. And so he knows what these people are going to do to him. And I'm sorry, I
know what you're saying, Sheriff, but I'd take a different tact and say you do nothing and it's just going to get worse for all of us. You stand up, and yes, you might have it worse for you, but at least you're on the right side of history. At least you stand for God, family, and country, and hopefully you can debunk or defunk, whatever you want to call it, the deep state enough to make a difference and give us a prayer. Otherwise, all of us are getting hauled to jail. Ian's going to go to jail. You're going to go to jail. I'm going to go to jail. Donald's going to jail.
Okay,
I mean, if they had their way, that's what they'd do, right?
I agree with you kind of, and I kind of don't, because let me say this. How many of us in this country, how many Christian people who know what is going on still pay our taxes to the IRS and bow down to the IRS?
Well, Donald could shut down the IRS tomorrow.
We're bowing. Yeah, well, you and I could stop doing it today. But we still bow to them. We bow to the crooked, corrupt people. And we do that. Why? Because we want to protect ourselves and our family. That's what Trump's doing.
Yeah, sad but true. Ian, your thoughts?
Yeah, look, I mean, in regards to the IRS, there's evidence, and I'd like to offer it to you, but people can look into this. Evidence supposedly that the IRS and the Federal Reserve both are functioning out.
Hold on, you're breaking up. Say that again.
Right when you said that, Ian, right when you said what was going on, you got
hold on. Let's go ahead and try to get the breakups solved here for a second, because I want to hear this clearly, ladies.
There's evidence.
Right when you were making the most important.
Hold on, Ian. Hold on, Ian, because you're breaking up a ton.
IRS
Yeah. Okay, we got to get that again, Sam, because that's kind of coincidental.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and try to get him back and get it squared away, Sheriff. But what I'm saying is you've got a valid point that we're all doing this to some degree. And the problem is because we're doing that, the deep state just continues to grow, and it's eventually going to smash us all. I fear if you get somebody like Gavin Newsom, as president of the United States or Ocasio-Cortez or I don't know who, any of these wackos, I'm convinced that they're going to come after me. They got me on the congressional record. They claim that I'm the nexus of hate and anti-government in America. That's not playing words, the nexus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a lie. It isn't true by any means, but they're going to basically go after people like me and you. And what do we do? Do we just flee for the hills?
Sam, they're going to go after everybody that's been labeled a racist and white supremacist. And that's both you and me. It's a lie, 100% a lie. They don't care. They're going to come after us, Sam. And yeah.
So I'm hoping that Trump and other people can stand up and change enough of the game to where that's harder and harder and harder for them to do.
Let's see if Congress can finish his statement that I was so...
Right, let's take a break first. Get him all squared away. I just wanted to be able to rock and roll. And when it's all broken up, we just can't get it. I can't copy is what they say on the radio.
That was really
Copy that. No, I didn't copy. We'll give you a 10-9. We'll repeat this thing. All right, hang tight, everybody. You're watching Liberty Roundtable Live. Sheriff Richard Mack, myself, and, of course, Ian Trottier. Check out his incredible website, .com.
As a parent, is receiving a faith-based, character-focused education for your children difficult to find? Do you believe that godly principles should be a central component in your child's education? Imagine a school where faith and integrity are at its center, where heritage and responsibility instill character. For over 40 years, American Heritage School has been educating both hearts and minds, bringing out academic excellence. This is the school where character and embracing the providence of a living God are fundamental, where students' national test scores average near the 90th percentile. With American Heritage School's advanced distance education program, distance is no longer an issue. With an accredited LDS-oriented curriculum from kindergarten through 12th grade, your children can attend from anywhere in the world. American Heritage School will prepare your child for more than a job. It will prepare them for life. To learn more, visit american-heritage.org. That's american-heritage.org.
Introducing PrepStartsNow.com, your ultimate guide to readiness and peace of mind. We offer practical preparedness tools, training, and education to take your family's household readiness to the next level. Browse the prep shop for essential products, check out our planning guides, and stay informed with our prep blog. Visit PrepStartsNow.com and subscribe to our emails for exclusive offers, new products, and future events. Remember, preparedness begins with PrepStartsNow.com.
Former Sheriff Richard Mack recounts in his book The Proper Role of Law Enforcement, how he came to realize while working as a beat cop how wrong the all-too-common orientation of police officers is when they think of their job as being to write tickets and arrest people. Richard Mack tells of his personal transformation from by-the-number cop to Constitution-conscious defender of citizen safety and freedoms. Learn what it really means to serve and protect. Purchase your copy at cspoa.org. That's cspoa.org.
All right, Ian Trottier with us, ladies and gentlemen. He broke up just strangely. He was good all hour long, and then right when he started talking about the Federal Reserve and the IRS and truth-telling, and then all of a sudden it just went all garbled and crazy. Let's give him another stab at this, Ian.
Yeah, it was probably 8 years ago. I was in Miami, and I came across a document that showed that the IRS was actually functioning out of Puerto Rico. And also recently, I have come across that being true for the Federal Reserve. Now, I can't offer any documentation or any specifics in regards to those claims, but it certainly seems that post the Spanish-American War, Puerto Rico has been used as a shell to function these foreign entities, which are the IRS and the Federal Reserve. These are not American functioning departments of the government. These are foreign entities that stranglehold the republic, in my view, and they're running out of Puerto Rico, it looks like. So I'm glad I got that across. That was what I was talking about, trying to convey to folks. And again, people need to approach this from a globalist standpoint and realize the country has been invaded by globalist people that want to tear down the Constitution and these freedoms that we have received and inherited from our forefathers. In regards to Trump and playing defense, this is not his time, in my view. This is not his time to play defense. This is his time to lock things down. This is his time to expose the fraud, not worry about impeachment, and lock things down. Now, of course, that's coming from a layman's perspective and an outsider's perspective. I don't know what it's like being on the inside. He's the centerpiece. But I can also say that there's certainly a lot of bad apples around him, just as there were in the previous administration. These people are steering him. People are steering him very, very far wide. Now, for my efforts, Sam, and as you know, and Sheriff, my objective is to bring light to the malfeasance of John Brennan and show that this man has committed very heinous crimes against the American people. Keep in mind that he's.
Do you think, Ian, there's going to be accountability for this?
I'd like to think that optimistically that absolutely it will be. I've spoken to Mike Davis. I've sent him a copy of my book. He runs Article 3 Project out of D.C. He's been an attorney for Trump. He's working right now with Jason Quinones in South Florida District on that subpoena for John Brennan. John Brennan's been pretty quiet the past few weeks. He's trying to get jurisdiction changed from the Judge Cannon. I think that yes, if we keep pushing, it's not just me; it's it's the publisher. Hey, take into consideration Postal Press and the risks that they've taken on this book. And their lawyer looked at this, Sam and Sheriff. The lawyer looked at this originally, the manuscript, and said no. They said no. This is a no go. It's so much of a miracle that this book is even out and circulating. And there's 100 copies right now on the Hill that I personally took and distributed. So there's a lot of people invested in this. There's a lot of people that are reading this book right now, and it's going to require more of us, your viewers,
Amen.
And friends of your viewers, and we'll all need to come together and show and prove. And it'll have to be in a court of law that shows that this man has committed these crimes. And if that happens, which it can happen, will it happen? We don't know. We can't look into the future, but it can happen. It should happen. And if we all come together and make sure it happens, it will happen. And the dominoes will begin to fall. And it will. And you want to take a shot at the deep state, Donald. Well, this is how you do it, because 400 pages showed that this man that became the head of the CIA. And by the way, I believe that he basically was Obama's handler. He was used as what I believe is a penetration agent by the deep state to build and place Barack Obama. There's something that he scrubbed off of Obama's passport. Between the time he was at Occidental College and Columbia College, Obama or Barry spent a year in Pakistan. What was he doing? And why did John Brennan go back and use what's called the Analysis Corporation to scrub that information? What information was scrubbed? And why did the two men associated to that end up dead? And that happened just before Jake Tapper, who should be looking more into this. That happened just before a critical 2008 San Francisco fundraiser for Barry Soetoro. What information was scrubbed off of that passport? And so, yes, it can happen. And if Brennan is taken down and shown to be a criminal to the United States, which I believe he is, and I personally have nothing against John Brennan. I simply don't. It was just the information that was given to me a couple of years ago at a CPAC by a former FBI agent that I converted into a book. I turned into a book. That's the information I'm presenting to the American people for them to call the verdict out. Outside of that, I have nothing against John Brennan. I don't care one way or the other against the individual. I thank him for his service, but what I show is that
we don't even know him personally. It's the crimes we're talking about. Sheriff, do you believe that we'll have action on this?
No. I don't think you and I don't think anybody really does. I agree with Ian. I hope it does. I really hope it does. But other people, if it comes close, other people are going to start dying. And just like the other two that you mentioned, Ian, they have a way of doing that. They have Trump knows this. Trump knows what he's fighting against. And you know what? We can say, oh yeah, the president ought to risk everything and risk his life and risk his family. I'm going to go back to this. We don't even risk fighting with the IRS.
And it's easy to play armchair quarterback. You're right about that fact. Exactly. That's for sure. Exactly. But if we're not very careful, though, this is going to evolve into a civil war. And right now, there's a guy by the name of Brandon Smith, and he writes over at Lou Rockwell, and he's with Ron Paul and a lot of these guys. And he says it's time to accept that Civil War 2.0 has already started. And then he says Smith believes that Minnesota protests will basically flare up in various places around the country. It'll increase in frequency and duration. The problem is these people are well-funded, well-organized, and they want a civil war, and they're going to get one. And so to me, unless we have accountability for some of these criminals and stop this, we're going to end up in a civil war. The question to Ian is, do you think we're in a civil war already?
Well, there's absolutely no doubt there's a political civil war. I mean, and this has been going on for well over a century. Again, I talked about the 14th Amendment. There's one president, 47 presidents. One has left the federal government without a federal deficit. Not Washington, not JFK, not Lincoln, not Trump, not Clinton. That was Andrew Jackson. That's the only president who left left the federal government out of a deficit. So there's been a civil war. And there's been a global war for independence with this country since 1776, in my view. It's never gotten its economic independence. And right now, because of this dialectic that Sheriff was talking about earlier, where you go yin yang, you go left to right, and then back and forth, that's called the Hegelian dialectic. That's engineered. It's implanted on purpose, and the American people have fallen for it. Stock and barrel. I mean, they're completely part of it. They can't see through it.
I want choice C, Operation Prosecute Criminals, sir.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly right. It's time to hold people accountable for their crimes. That's why Gitmos exist. They got to be charged for these crimes. Enough is enough. You got to put your foot down. If you got one to put down, put it down. And the viewer at home, just like the three of us, we're just ordinary guys. Everybody else, you've got to demand accountability, and Pam Bondi's not doing the job because her CFO, the CFO of the DOJ, is an Interpol agent. It sounds like Todd Blanche is part of it. The deep state is much more sophisticated. They're much more entrenched than the average American person realizes, and I think that includes Donald Trump. We just don't realize the apparatus that has entrenched itself inside D.C. is so disgusting. They control both sides of the political aisle. It's going to take it right now. I believe, yes, there is a political civil war happening right now. And they are pushing the big money from Soros. Even I think Thiel, the Palantir, they're pushing. I'm just assuming that it just sounds that way. But the big global money is pushing for these social upheavals like what's happening in Minneapolis. It's going to spread, and that's what they want. That is the wrong thing to do because the country must be united to stand. But it is dividing. That's where they're pushing it towards. And so I would recommend any viewer to certainly urge peace and look at the root of the problem, which is follow the money. Look at getting some of these things that we've talked about abolished. The Federal Reserve Act of 1913 needs to be abolished ASAP. The IRS needs to be abolished. And Amen. Really, Trump can carry the torch for that.
Amen. Absolutely.
Trump can and should carry the torch. Do you agree with Brandon Smith? The Civil War has already started, 2.0 in America, Sheriff?
There's some validity to what he's saying. I don't think it's looking nearly that violent yet, but if this expands just like he's predicting, which isn't hard to do, we could really be there. But I also totally agree with Ian. It's already been happening for 100 years politically. We are so divided, and now they're making it violent. And what have I been calling for ever since this happened in Minneapolis? The sheriffs of this country have got to get involved in every single one of those and provide peace and safety and security for the protesters and for the ICE agents actually trying to enforce the law. Where are they? Sitting behind their desks with their thumb in their mouth.
All right, there you have it. Thumb-sucking baby sheriffs running around not taking care of business is part of the problem, ladies and gentlemen. We all agree with that. I think that a civil war is underway, but it's not hot yet. And I pray that it doesn't get violent and hot. But I submit to you, the more violence we see in the streets, it's going to get more and more and more dangerous. The more we, have judges who are allowing illegals to stay in the country and fighting Donald at every turn. These judges need to be impeached. We need to impeach and prosecute. And the sad part is the Democrats are serious. They'll do it. Just see who they've put in jail. But the Republicans don't seem to have the guts to put anybody in jail, no matter how heinous their crime. I personally think it starts with John. He needs to go to prison, folks. The document is in Ian Trottier's book, right? The information is there. We have the work done. Now it's time to get to the bottom of it. HighStakesTreason.com is the book. Get your copy. Get involved. Make a difference. Demand change and solutions. Ian, thank you. We'll have you back.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Sheriff, thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you, Ian.
By the way, everybody, you need to be part of the CSPOA, CSPOA.org. God save the Republic of the United States of America.